Hello, you magnificent godling. Human nature. Human nature is that projection makes perception. And if you don't understand that, you don't understand what's happening to you. We are being manipulated. The world driven toward horrific outcomes through the power of our own godly mojo. Want out of the madness? Stay with me. And, as always, make sure to keep your lenses clean so your vision will be clear. Good morning, you magnificent godling. I'm Colleen Callahan. This is a Magifester Central. In case you're new to all this, thanks for stopping by. There's a team of us here in Earth Venue trying to avert disaster by heralding in a new age of unrivaled clarity. And if you're watching this, you are most likely part of that team. One of us has asked specifically about the team. I believe it was Gigi. And I'll be offering Michael's response at the end, so stay with us, team. So, projection makes perception, and that's really human nature. It's also godly nature. But when you're a godling and you're lucid, you don't do it willy-nilly, unconsciously, creating what you do not want. The projection that happens when you're unconscious, that is dreaming without lucidity, laboring under the misty call of your dirty cognitive lenses. But when you observe those lenses long enough, you realize that your words and your beliefs, your beliefs, have been casting a spell, an enchantment, actually, over your experience in Earth Venue. We tend to hypnotize ourselves here with our stories, our self-talk. This happens when we fall out of lucidity and into identification with our story, our self-talk, or our ego mind. You'll know you've fallen right away because you'll be suffering. So use suffering to alert you that your lucidity has wavered. And then examine closely, that is, interrogate your mind and the self-talk that has caused you to lose lucidity, however briefly or long. Because once you truly see the self-talk generating all the suffering, you're no longer taken in by your own magic. And then you witness clearly that a mind full of beliefs has been attacking the power of your divine nature to summon precisely what you do not want. Actually, it's been hijacking that power, attacking your peace. At this point, like Kali biting her tongue, you, consciousness itself, begin to mind your words. Thereby, you interrupt the flow of inner horrors before it spills out into the world. You bring a new, fresh, clear, personal, energetic field to the whole field, and your higher frequency presence acts to raise the entire earth field's vibration just by you staying present and abiding in lucidity. All of this insanity persists because humans are identified with our bodies, our stories, and our minds attacking our peace. The body generates fear and desire. The mind builds a narrative that justifies the body's inclinations. And these hijack the power of your godly estate when you are unconscious. That is, when you don't observe it happening. So you end up creating things that you actually do not want. Something small happens and the whole flock erupts, puffing and clucking and screaming and bouncing off the walls. The noise amplifies itself until it becomes a cascade of events, inevitable, eruption, catharsis, and loss. Something always dies when we allow ourselves to get carried away. Illusions die, self-concepts die, relationships and even incarnations die. The price of unconscious reactivity is always loss, and thus the dream of death and struggle continues, perpetuated by the momentum. The price of unconscious reactivity is loss. Only in lucidity can we create the happy dream, the last and greatest dream, the dream of awakening and of creating the paradise that this world can be. Only the lucid dreamer can change the dream, and we need each other to accomplish it. We need the numbers accumulated of the lucid so that we can offset and calm and balance the reactivity of the global population and the way their fields are creating bedlam. Surely you see that you're being programmed and wound up and milked for all your energy. Your attention is captivated by the spectacle, and your body is horrified. In fear, it speaks to you the imperatives that drive you to perpetuate the very dream that you detest, until you waken, lucid, and observe it happening. This cycle continues because we live inside bubbles of projected belief structures, stories designed to make us feel right and vindicated in a world that we ourselves have made frightening. We fear we are poor judges of reality, and so we want our models to be proven correct, even when the model is pathetically sad, cynical, or jaded. We'd rather be correct than happy, seems to me. So we exclude all the evidence that our model is wrong, and in so doing, we make ourselves the poor judges of reality that we feared we'd be exposed to be. Everyone does this. Typically, people want to protect their theories because they're identified with them. You're identified with your belief structure. And if you're not identified with it, you celebrate every time you find out you've been wrong, because it means you have learned enough to realize you were wrong. So now you're more right. You're more correct. So finding an error in your belief structure is the best thing that can happen, so you can correct it. This is nothing to fear. But the actual process of hiding from the truth, because we want to protect our belief structures, has momentum. The process of creating things that we do not want by projecting them has momentum, because we're conditioned to do it. It's driven by the endless power of our godly estate, harnessed towards outcomes that we dread. The only way out of it is to observe it, again and again and again, until you see that it's your own lens creating the suffering. It's a self-perpetuating cycle that continues to escalate until you, consciousness, catch your own self-talk in the act of making you miserable, expounding endlessly the very sad model of the world you created and which is now projected all around us. Now, I'm not talking to some team members who have observed all this. I'm speaking to the ones who are suffering because their lucidity is teetering. Those in power understand how all of this works. They know how to wind the mechanism of your fears and your body to trigger your fear and your outrage and reactions so that you act in that terrible momentum instead of from clarity. That is, they know how to wreck your lucidity. All they have to do is keep you suffering. To keep you suffering is to keep the grotesqueries of the circus getting more and more outrageous. You can witness this happening. And when you do, for a moment, you're no longer seeing through the cognitive lenses of fear and outrage, and so your vision clears. You can see your own beliefs hijacking your perception and experiences, causing you to react emotionally in the very patterns that you would condemn, where you're not caught up in them. The momentum exists because you are endlessly powerful, and you are not aware that you have been conditioned to respond in very maladaptive ways. You're conditioned to continue this cycle of awakening and then losing your lucidity because the spectacle of the show keeps you captivated. You are godlings wielding creative force unconsciously, like a baby elephant discovering its trunk. It's awkward, it's uncoordinated, sometimes destructive, until lucidity dawns. In lucidity, you catch the lens of your beliefs, reaching like invisible arms into the fabric of experience, shaping outcomes with the unseen force of your godly estate. And then you witness yourself fearing what you are helping to create. This is karma. It's not punishment. It's not reward. It's momentum. There is no fury waiting to escort you into hell or a worsening incarnation. The moment you see yourself creating hell and forgive your own accidental creating, you are forgiven and free. But the momentum of your own creative power, operating through your belief structures, projects a world that keeps you reacting until you wake up lucid in the dream of the world. So now is the perfect time to observe all of this happening on a massive scale, globally. You can taste the insanity. You can feel it in your very bowels. But you keep ascribing it only to guilty others, whom you imagine are to blame. Unconsciousness is the only problem. It's why people can be wound up into doing things that they would abhor themselves if they were lucid. Lucidity is the cure. Lucidity is the one thing Yeshua Christ said is needed. So long as you do not witness this whole cycle operating in yourself, so long as you are not lucid in the dream you are creating, you will continue to summon precisely what you do not want and dread. So wake up. Interrogate your minds. Observe your self-talk. Ask yourself, what am I really saying to myself in these emotions? And then really look at the answers. Then ask yourself, is it true? And is it serving me? Interrogate your mind. Root out the unconscious beliefs that are polluting your life, this venue, and turning it into a nightmare of loss and suffering. None of this need be. We are doing all of this to ourselves. Now, about the team. The team's mission is to waken everyone out of identification with the false self, the characters they but play in the dream of the world, to identification as consciousness itself, conscious of itself. The heralds came in early, and they were few, arriving in the 1940s. A further larger group came in with the boomers in the 1950s and 60s, during which time the wave of teammates incarnating reached its crest in numbers incarnating per unit of time. The tapering of the first wave came in during the 70s and 80s, and a new wave began at the end of the 90s through 2010. The intention is for lucidity to be passed like a torch, and along with the stewarding of lucidity's light in the world, to be passed from one generation to the subsequent, so that progress is not easily wiped out in the present geopolitical social upheavals. Medical discoveries and technological innovations, particularly in communication, were all orchestrated to bring all forces to bear on this present pivotal time, when the wisdom of the 50s and 60s generation is still available to be passed on to as many capable vessels of the light of lucidity as are available to be reached by these enhanced communication methods. YouTube and social media, for all their troubles, they are the vehicles of this information spreading through humanity, and the information needs your help. Please share the videos. Please like and subscribe. This is important. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We have to do this. It's up to us to do the ha-cha-cha. This is why we keep reminding you, team, to like and subscribe and hype the videos so the information is presented to more team members who can thereby awaken. Many who incarnated in the first wave crest did not or have not yet achieved awakening out of their mistaken identifications. These ignored the call to higher purpose and got caught up in the rampant corporatism and industrialization of the era. This was anticipated, hence the zone was flooded with teammates during this time period. Once caught up in the stress, it takes dire circumstances like withdrawals or an NDE to make an individual abandon identification with the dysfunctional mind that constantly attacks their peace, and even more so, the whole societal organization keeps lucidity under constant attack. Most NDEers are team members. It is typically the whole point of the NDE. Now let me explain that. We've all had the experience of going from a first room into a second room to accomplish something. And we get in the second room and we can't remember why we came in there. So we have to turn around and go back to the first room to remember why we went into the second room. Then we have to hold by our wills the mission in awareness while we go back to the second room. You come back into the room saying to yourself what you're looking for or why you're there. This is the point of most NDEs. They are to pull you out of the second room, which is Earth venue, to remind you of why you came in here. Lucidity is about remembering what you really are and why you came in here to begin with, because you're remembering yourself across contexts, the eternal and the temporal. And that's what lucidity is. You go, that's right, there's another me. Oh, I remember that bigger me. And you operate out of it. The world is in crisis. Hidden in all such reckonings is the gift of the potential to waken out of your mistaken identifications and become lucid. While the surge in the use of opioids, SSRIs, benzodiazepines, and all those drugs is decidedly counterproductive to lucidity, the crisis of their withdrawal requires lucidity to even survive the withdrawals. So the consciousness has to waken to supervise the mind that urges destruction of the body because of the immense suffering caused by the withdrawals. The body and the mind must be shepherded through the chemical adjustment period by consciousness that we all are. Thus, all things are alchemized to their highest good. After such an ordeal, either by the body dying or by lucidity dawning, no world can hold what you have realized yourself to be, nor can any dream confound you. Those who chose lives with childhoods fraught with abuse and peril chose their paths with the intention that the duress would serve to waken them early in life. The dissociative changes that make the world feel dreamlike during trauma are not maladaptive. Indeed, this dissociation is the real you, noticing the world's dreamlike character for perhaps the first time. When full awakening is not achieved, the partially awakened tend to rash acts that witness to their desperation and confusion. Rash utterances and acts often lead to peril, often to death, and so the NDE is the fail-safe reminder designed into the life plan of all team members. It's available as a method to step in and rescue a team member by pulling them out into the first room to remind them of why they came into the second room and then allow them to return. Thus, team members outnumber by orders of magnitude the non-team members among NDEers. So, oftentimes, factually, the team member is just, when they die, just lucid enough to be full of love, and this motivates them to return. And often they're just confused enough to believe that the dream itself has to be salvaged. That was my case. I wanted to salvage the dream. But all worlds are just dreams based in concepts, a what-if notion. Concepts literally create worlds. Presently, the world is a nightmare, but it started as a jest. It was like, what if we build a world where we godlings could experience being captive of and like hostage to our own creations? This was something I saw when I was in the Lustrous Vast during my NDE, and it's very funny from the perspective of the eternal, all-powerful beings that we are. Those of us who came up with the whole idea thought it would be a lark, although, to be fair, there were some godlings who thought it wasn't such a great idea and suggested the potential that what if we became so enchanted by our own work that we forgot we were the ones doing it all? It could become a nightmare, they said. And of course, unless you carry lucid awareness of what you are across the realm boundary between the first room and the second room, there's always a risk there's going to be nightmares. The trade-off is that the joy and relief of remembering is for those who have suffered forgetting, and the actual nightmare itself serves to waken you, because when you're having a happy dream, nobody has any reason to wake up. So facts are, those who die and do not return to the version of the second room that they'd left. These either return to a different version of the world in which they never died at all, or a version wherein the outcome of the dream they're going back to is worthy of the effort of returning. Such is the dream of awakening for which Michael and I returned. It is a potential outcome of the way things play out in this venue. And that's what I returned for. We returned as a member of the team, holding both lucidity and a vision of the last and greatest dream for Earth venue, the dream of awakening. If you are here watching this, you likely came here to this world, the second room, to be part of that process playing out. Not as a spectator or participant caught up in the spell of their rashly uttered summonings, but as a lucid creator embodying sovereign creative authority. We welcome you all with deep love. Thank you. You are a brave, magnificent soul. Thank you for choosing here to be here now. Please remember, like and subscribe, and we implore you to hype the video and the channel so the algorithm presents this content to more people who are team members and need to find it, so that all of the team finds each other, finds us gathering here. To their great comfort, I'm sure you'll agree. Now get out there and be lucid. And in that lucidity, you will change the world's field with your own. We love you all. Now, together, let's put out that little eye.